This is the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 7. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for these things must need be, but the end not shall be yet. Luke 21, 9 through verse 11. But when ye shall hear wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then say unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Verse 11. And great earthquakes shall there be in divers places, and famines and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. Matthew 24 and 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, the end is not yet. Matthew 24 and 7. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence in diverse places. And earthquakes in diverse places. And Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Mokar double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, pushing his word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a sit-down lesson for In the News on October 13th, 2022 at 2:58 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Thursday afternoon. And this is recently from the Associated Press, and I was scrolling down through the news article, so I was like, let me do a little quick sit down lesson on this, with the increase of wars and rumors of wars, on a daily basis. And this is a news article from the Associated Press and published by Jim Gomez and Aaron Fedora, if I pronounce his name right. And the highlight of this news article, when it reads for In the News on October 13th, 2022, on this Thursday afternoon, like I mentioned before, and it reads, U.S. firepower showcase in Philippine joint combat drills. And these photos of it, they ain't got no video clip, but this is photos of it. Of the firepower of the missiles showcased by the United States and the Philippines as they did military joint drills. About 17 photos of them. U.S. soldier and the Philippine soldiers together doing military combat drills, joint exercise drills. And continuing on with the reading, it says from the Philippines Associated Press, it says a truck mount launches blasts off rockets and U.S. stealth fighter jets screech across the northern Philippine skies on Thursday in a combat drill that marks the latest display of American firepower in a region where Washington has tried to deter what it warrants China's growing aggression. And I believe it was an article, matter of fact, it was on CNN News. Joe Biden had an interview. It was about yesterday. I was looking at it. Even though I understand CNN News is not reliable source news all the time, because 100% it's not true all the time. But I was just looking at it yesterday, and Joe Biden was saying that China is the number one, their number one competition. They look at them as the number one threat. Even though Russia on top of that list as well too. Joe Biden stated that China is their number one threat when it comes to technology and to being the next superpower and stuff like that. So that I just had to add an extra note to that. Since it mentioned, they had previously run-ins and warnings against China. The tensions between China in the United States, and then Beijing and Washington as well too. And I'm gonna read that part again. It says, Thursday in a combat drill that marks the latest display of American firepower in a region where Washington was trying to deter what it warned as China growing aggression. The live fire exercise in a gurney and bomb range in a desolate valley in Capas town in North Manila in the Philippines were highlight of 2 weeks of combat readiness maneuvers, which including mock Prophet's assaults, the joint coastal defense tactics involving more than 2,500 Americans and the Philippine Marines. It says Hauser artillery shoots bomb across the Dust Valley and by a mountain range and hills from United States and the Philippines. Marine fire positions and some concealed by camouflage tents. It says call Commander Talaga Aracom for corroborations of the warriors of the sea. The military maneuvers on Friday were being held simultaneously with combat drills between U.S. Marines and Japanese Army forces on Japan's northern island of Hidako that involves 3,000 personnel from the two sides, the U.S. military official says. The U.S. Major General J. Bargum of the Japan-based 3rd Marine Division had said the exercise were aimed to bolstering the defense capabilities of the U.S. alliance with Philippines, Japan, and ensure that we are prepared to rapidly respond to crises throughout the Indo-Pacific. Salaki. This exercise is a important opportunity to bring together the U.S. and the Philippines' capability and personnel strength, our combat readiness. Joel 3 and 9 proclaim this amongst the Gentiles, prepare war, and that's what we're seeing. I just want to add that reference scripture to that. But continuing on with the reading, it said proficiencies in trust. The U.S. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Kurt Standers told the Associated Press. Salaki. It says American High Mobility Artillery Rocket Systems, or HIMARS rocket launchers, will have recently helped Ukraine gain momentum in its war with Russia. And the F-35 supersonic fighter jet was showcased in the military exercise on Wednesday and Thursday. The HIMAR launches fired GPS-guided missiles depending on the mission and system configuration of the HIMARS are capable of hitting targets up to 300 kilometers of 186 away. Stack says the highly mobile launch are hard for the enemies to spot and can quickly change positions and firing to escape retaliatory airstrikes. It says, well, we could never position strikes against critical targets like a communication systems or radar. The HIMAR could also be used to stop an enemy force gaining on a contested piece of coastal terrain, Stallion said. The F-35B jet also can play a significant role in increased battlefield readiness between allied forces on the ground and in the air, though the communication links providing details on positions and avert forces, he said. And Stalin echoed remarks by Philippines military officials that the regular scheduled annual exercise was not directly towards any country. It says the combat maneuvers, however, were being held at any time when Washington has more sternly warns of Beijing over its increasingly assert actions against Taiwan and rival climate states in the South China Sea. And U.S. President Joe Biden has said American forces will defend Taiwan if Beijing tries to invade. Self-rule island sparked anger protests from Japan. Separately in July, with U.S. Secretary Anthony Blinken calls on to comply a 2016 attribution ruling that invaded Beijing vast territorial claims in the South China Sea has warned Washington is obligated to defend the Philippines under a 1951 U.S. Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty if Philippine forces, vessels, or aircraft come under attack in the dispute waters. I remember I did a lesson on that a couple of months ago in regards to that situation. And it says the ruling was issued by the terminal set up of the Hajj under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea after Philippines government brought China to attribute in 2013 over Beijing's siege of the shore of the northwest Philippines. China did not participate, called the attribute decision shame and continues to defy it. It says Vietnamese, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei also have overlapping claims that the busy waterway where an estimated 5 trillion goods passes each year, which believes to be rich in undersea gases and oil deposits. The military drill was the first large-scale exercise between the treaty allies under the newly elected president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who took office in June after a landslide election victory. Let's see. Oh, okay. His predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte, was an outspoken critic of the U.S. security policies and nurtured closer ties with China and Russia. Early in his presidency, Duterte threatens to sever ties with Washington and frowned on military exercise with American forces that he could offend Beijing. Dorsey later attempted to end a key defense pact that allows large number of American forces to visit the Philippines for combat exercise, but walked back his threat. So wars and rumors of wars increasing now more than ever. As I stated previously in my videos, with the military exercise training has been increasing, military readiness for the nations and these militaries of these nations, different kingdoms as well too, rising up against one another. As I was reading through the article, they said the showcase of the United States firepower with the Japan, United States, and the Philippines. They were saying it's not towards any threat towards any country. But, as I was reading further on down to the article, it was showing uh, United States having continuously encountered tensions between Beijing, China, over the Taiwan Sea and the South China Sea, in water disputes with the Philippines and the United States got a some type of treaty over protections over there in the Indo-Pacific. So tensions increasing on that. So most likely it is a direct towards China and Beijing, and the countries that's allies with China as well too. So those tensions are definitely going to increase, and it's definitely going to stir up. That's why you've been saying throughout the whole year of 2020 and 2022 You've been seeing nothing but military increasing of joint exercise drills, joint Navy base type drills, simulation type, ground troop type drills. Nations are firing missiles, IBCBM, intercontinental ballistic missile training, firing off missiles, so etc. You name it, you know. So these wars and rumors of wars, and nations rising up against nations, and kingdom against kingdoms, and the commotions of wars, proxy wars, etc. You name it. So these things are definitely going to increase more and more and more. And expect to see more nations that's allies with one another against their adversaries in that military readiness and full training of these joint military exercise drills starting to continue to increase more and more and more, you know. So with that, I hope this sit down lesson was edifying for In the News on October 13th, 2022 at 3:12 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Thursday afternoon. And I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.